When we hear the name Adolf Hitler, certain scenes come to mind. Concentration camps where around 1 million people were killed, the largest war the planet has ever witnessed, fervent speeches delivered with enthusiasm, the largest rallies in history, and the devastated image of Berlin. These inevitably evoke thoughts of Adolf Hitler. Some of you may remember him with drawings depicting the period he desired from his youth. So, how did the young Adolf, who aspired to be a painter, become one of the most powerful and infamous dictators of the 20th century? What were the reasons behind his success and cruelty? To answer all of these, let's embark on a journey through his life from birth, closely examining critical points and events that altered his mindset leading to his rise to power. If you're ready, let's begin. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1899, in the town of Braunau am Inn in Austria-Hungary. His father was a customs official, and 3 older siblings born before Adolf had died in infancy due to illnesses. His mother, Clara, showed special attention to Adolf to ensure he did not suffer the same fate. When Hitler turned 10, his 6-year-old brother Edmund died of measles, further affecting him deeply and turning him into a melancholic and introverted child. His interest in studies waned, and he began displaying undisciplined behavior. These actions led to physical abuse from his father, which continued even after his father's death when Hitler was 14. After his father's death, young Adolf dropped out of school and initially worked in a few small jobs. At the age of 18, driven by his dream of becoming an artist, Hitler applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. However, this application ended in a major disappointment as he was rejected from the academy due to insufficient talent. Shortly after, his mother succumbed to breast cancer. His second attempt at the academy in 1908 also resulted in rejection, leaving Hitler completely penniless and unsupported, having lost all hope. During this period, Hitler lived in single men's hostels and municipal dormitories in Vienna. Trying to make a living by selling landscape paintings, he drew to shops and tourists. During his time in Vienna, he had the opportunity to get to know Jews closely. Up until then, the only thing he knew about Jews was that they belonged to a different religion. Throughout his time in Vienna, Hitler's thoughts about Jews would evolve. According to what he wrote in his book Mein Kampf, when he saw a theater show or a musical piece made by Jews, he found it exaggerated and believed that these exaggerations were made by Jews. In his view, Jews were active in many fields, advancing ahead of Germans by favoring each other. What bothered Hitler was not only the Jews. During his youth, when his political views were taking shape, he also began to feel uncomfortable with the multi-ethnic structure of Austria-Hungary. According to him, a state harboring so many ethnic elements was inevitably doomed to collapse. Failing to find what he hoped for in Vienna, Hitler used the last of his father's savings in May 1913 to go to Munich, Germany, in search of new opportunities. He tried to make a living by selling his paintings for a year. However, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, on June 28, 1914, during his visit to Sarajevo by a Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, was a significant turning point in world history. This assassination led to Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia. After Russia, not wanting Serbia to be annexed by Austria-Hungary, declared war on Austria, Germany entered the war. With the involvement of France and England, World War I began. This war was the first link in the chain of events that initiated Hitler's rise. Hitler wasted no time and volunteered for the German army. Unlike many soldiers, he did not complain about the harsh conditions. After a lonely and impoverished life in Vienna and Munich, his life had finally taken on meaning, and he was fighting with all his might. In October 1916, he was wounded in the leg during the Battle of the Somme and was taken for treatment. After recovery, he returned to the front in March 1917. On October 15th, near Ypres, he experienced temporary blindness due to a poison gas attack orchestrated by the British and was hospitalized again. During his recovery, he learned of Germany's surrender, which angered him greatly. At the time of the signing, he still found it illogical for Germany to surrender on enemy territory. Like many German nationalists, he believed that Germany was defeated not on the battlefield but by traitors at the negotiation table. After the war, Hitler returned to Munich and started working as a political agent on behalf of the army. The German government considered the extreme right-wing parties emerging after the war as a threat. Therefore, many agents were assigned to monitor these meetings. Hitler became one of these agents and began attending meetings of the German Workers' Party in September 1919. However, this assignment resulted in an unexpected outcome. Hitler began to find the party's views close to his own. The German Workers' Party also adopted a form of socialism based on nationalism, much like his. With each meeting he attended, Hitler's interest in the party grew. At a party meeting on September 12, 1919, a spectator named Drexler said that Bavaria should separate from Germany and unite with Austria. Hitler became very angry with these words and stood up to reprimand the man. He had a unique ability in oratory. When he started speaking, everyone would fall silent, attentively listening to every word. The derogatory words of Hitler embarrassed the man named Drexler, who had to leave the meeting, influencing Anton Drexler, one of the party's founders. Therefore, Drexler invited him to join the party. Already feeling close to the party's views, Hitler accepted the invitation and became one of the few members of the German Workers' Party. Normally, military personnel did not have the right to join political parties, but Hitler was granted special permission to rise through the party leadership more successfully. However, authorities did not yet know that Hitler's goal was not loyalty. In fact, by leading the rise of this small party, Hitler aimed to ascend in the political arena. Shortly after joining the party in March 1920, he resigned from the army and began devoting all his time to his political career. Within the same year, he became the party's propaganda chief. As a first step, he changed the party's name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Over time, party members would come to be known as Nazis. In 1920s Germany, all the conditions necessary for the development of extremist parties like the Nazi Party were present. The anger over the loss of the war and economic problems had caused intense unrest in the country. Hitler intended to turn this crisis into an opportunity for the party. Until then, the National Socialists had addressed small crowds in small bars. However, Hitler's speeches attracted tremendous attention. In a short time, thousands of people began attending these meetings. His promises were listened to with interest by the audience, and the number of supporters increased every day. Hitler quickly became the party's most popular member. In June 1921, the party's executive committee wanted to merge with the German Socialist Party based in Nuremberg. However, Hitler announced that he would never accept this merger and angrily resigned from the party. Committee members knew that Hitler's resignation, the most important figure in the party's popularity, would be the end of the party. Therefore, they immediately started working to persuade him. Hitler was aware that he had a significant opportunity in his hands. If he played his cards right, his rise was not out of reach. Therefore, he told the committee members that he would withdraw his resignation if he were made the party leader instead of Anton Drexler. The offer was accepted, and Adolf became the leader of the party on July 29, 1921. Now it was time to make larger-scale political moves. When Germany lost World War I, the Versailles Treaty limited the German army to 100,000 soldiers. This decision left many military personnel unemployed. Some of these soldiers joined the Nazi Party. One of these soldiers was Ernst Röhm, an officer. Röhm, along with the former soldiers who joined the party, was tasked with providing security at reorganization meetings held in 1921 under the name Sturmabteilung SA, meaning storm detachment, and intimidating members of rival parties when necessary. In October 1922, Benito Mussolini marched from Naples to Rome with militia units called the Black Shirts, seizing power without encountering any resistance. Hitler wanted to do in Germany what Mussolini had done in Italy. At that time, three figures held power in Bavaria, the headquarters of the Nazi Party, and were equipped with high powers: State Commissioner Gustav von Kahr, Bavarian State Police Chief Colonel Hans Ritter, and General Otto von Lossow. On November 8, 1923, at Bergerbraukeller, one of Bavaria's largest beer halls, State Commissioner Gustav was delivering a speech to a large crowd. Hitler, accompanied by his SA units, stormed the beer hall, forcing Bavaria's prominent official to join him. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he also delivered a speech to the audience. In a short time, he managed to impress everyone. Applause erupted in the beer hall, louder than ever before. All of this, along with signals that Hitler's coup would be successful, indicated that he would first take control of Munich, then move towards Berlin. He believed that the army and the police would support him during this march. On the morning of November 9th, Hitler, along with 3,000 supporters, started marching towards the center of Munich. The group progressed smoothly to the vicinity of the Bavarian Ministry of Defense in the city center. However, when they reached there, their path was blocked by about 100 police officers. In the ensuing conflict, 16 Nazis and 4 police officers lost their lives. Hitler was also injured during this clash but managed to escape. However, this escape only bought him 2 days. 2 days later, he was arrested and thrown into prison. In the trial that followed, he emphasized in a calm and soft tone in his speech that he had to carry out a courageous act to save the people. Hitler, one of the best orators in history, influenced the outcome unintentionally, and he was sentenced to only 5 years for treason. After spending approximately the first 9 months in prison, he was released on December 20th, 1924. While Hitler was in prison, the German Workers' Party won 14 seats in the parliament with 3% of the vote in the December 7, 1924 elections. During this period, as the destructive effects of the war gradually diminished, the German economy began to stabilize. These new developments hindered the rise of the Nazi Party. In the elections held on May 20th, 1928, the party's votes decreased. It only managed to obtain 12 seats in the parliament with a 2.6% vote share. However, the following year, in 1929, the economic crisis known as the Great Depression erupted in the United States, and the party began to regain popularity. The economic crisis, which had devastating consequences for Germany as well, led to a sudden surge in unemployment and poverty as Germany struggled to pay war reparations. This situation provided an opportunity for the Nazi Party to increase its voter base. Hitler, taking advantage of the economic crisis, launched a propaganda campaign. His ideas attracted the attention of both the impoverished population and industrialists concerned about the rise of socialism. Many businesspeople began to support the Nazi Party financially, enabling Hitler to reach broader audiences. The National Socialist German Workers' Party achieved its first major electoral success in the September 14, 1930 elections, garnering 18.3% of the votes and increasing its seats in parliament from 12 to 107. This was an extraordinary success for the Nazi Party, but no one knew yet that it was only the beginning. Perhaps Hitler should be exempt from this, as his next goal was to become the president. In the presidential elections held on May 10, 1932, Hitler achieved a great success by receiving 36.8% of the votes. However, his opponent, Hindenburg, who received 3% of the vote, won the election. After the presidential election, in the 2 general elections held in June and November, no party could secure a majority in the parliament. In contrast, the Nazis won 230 seats in the June elections and 196 seats in the November elections, becoming the party with the most seats in parliament in both elections. Using this power, Hitler proposed to President Hindenburg that he be appointed chancellor. Hindenburg accepted this offer, thinking that Hitler could control the far-right masses, and on January 30, 1933, Hitler was declared chancellor in a ceremony. Shortly after Hitler became chancellor, a fire broke out in the German parliament on the evening of February 27, 1933. Hitler claimed that the communists started the fire and used this situation as an excuse to increase his powers. The next day, President Hindenburg signed a decree abolishing the articles of the Constitution related to individual rights and freedoms. With this decree, all publications and election campaigns of parties other than the Nazi and German National People's Party were stopped. Under these conditions, in the elections held in March 1933, the Nazi Party, led by Hitler, received 43.98% of the vote, obtaining the highest number of seats in parliament. However, 324 seats were needed for a majority in the parliament, so Hitler formed a coalition with the German National People's Party. With the Enabling Act he presented to the parliament on March 23, 1933, he transferred all powers of the parliament to the cabinet for a period of 4 years and suspended the work of the parliament during this time. For such a law to be implemented, a majority of 3% in the parliament was required. To achieve this, Hitler detained 81 communist deputies before the vote, and on the day of the vote, he had the parliament building surrounded by paramilitary units and banned all parties outside. Additionally, he closed all unions, associations, and organizations not affiliated with his party. In Germany, parliamentary democracy came to an end, and a true election was no longer possible. The members of the National Socialist German Workers' Party would determine the parliament. Hitler became the absolute ruler of Germany, reducing the powers of President Hindenburg to symbolic dimensions. During this period of increased absolute dominance by Hitler, the leader of the SA, Ernst Röhm, began advocating for the SA to take control of the German army. Emphasizing the socialist aspect of the Nazi Party, he supported the nationalization of major corporations. Therefore, on the night of June 29, 1934, he was arrested along with other dissenting figures, and after this event known as the Night of the Long Knives, hundreds of high-ranking SA leaders were executed. As Hitler gained the support of the military, he simultaneously eliminated the SA, which had started to pose a threat to his authority. About a month after this event, on August 2, 1934, President Hindenburg passed away. Hitler organized a referendum for the presidency, receiving an 88% yes vote and becoming the president while continuing his duties as chancellor. Thus, Hitler became the sole authority in the administration of Germany. During Hitler's rule, he revived the German economy. He created employment for German workers through hospital and school construction and initiated an armament movement immediately upon taking office. While other countries struggled to cope with the crisis, the German economy began to recover rapidly. By 1939, Hitler had resolved the country's internal issues and turned his attention outward. Germany annexed Austria and then Czechoslovakia. Hitler was realizing the goals he had outlined in his book Mein Kampf while he was in prison. His aim was to unify Germany, and the next goal was to expand eastward and settle the German race. For this purpose, Hitler formed an alliance with Russia and declared war on Poland on September 1, 1939. This war would mark the beginning of World War II, resulting in the death of 80 million people.